Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about a film called The Return of Swamp Thing. So, I saw the first movie just a few months ago, and it was alright. You know, it's not my favorite comic book movie, it's not my favorite Wes Craven movie, but it is a fun sort of B movie, and it was definitely worth keeping for me. So, I saw a review of The Return of Swamp Thing on the Ain't It Cool News channel on YouTube a while back, and the guy said that this movie had more of a campy vibe to it and that it had more monsters in it, so that sounded pretty promising to me. The plot is pretty straightforward here. It's got the same bad guy who was in the first movie with his German accent and everything, and he's continuing to do, mad scientist research to turn humans into weird animal creature things, and the Swamp Thing has to stop him. So the movie definitely has a lot more of a camp factor to it, whereas the first movie felt a little more serious and dark. To start off with, when you meet the love interest for the first time, it's pretty damn obvious that she's going to end up as Swamp Thing's girlfriend, because she's talking to these plants as if they're people. They've all got their own names. She even acts like they're responding to her. She might need some professional help. And at one point she says, why can't men be more... Can't talk. She says, why can't men be more like plants? Yeah, I wonder who's Swamp Thing's girlfriend is going to be this time. There were a couple of downsides to the camp factor. There was one point where these moonshiners showed up and caused a little bit of trouble, and their acting and just the way that they talked was really so over the top that it got annoying. I get that they were going for a more comedic vibe with this film, but that doesn't mean that the characters need to be aggravating to listen to. Also, there were these two kids in the movie who played a much bigger role than I had anticipated when they first showed up, and they did have some pretty amusing scenes, and I didn't hate them, but they also had some pretty annoying moments. Like, when they first showed up, there's this little fat kid who talks all gruffly, like he's trying to sound tough, and when he sees Swamp Thing, I was expecting any minute for him to be like, do the roar! He reminded me of that kid from Shrek 4 a little bit. But after that first scene, though, he just completely dropped the gruff voice and sounded like a normal kid, so I don't even know what that was all about. As for this movie having more monsters, like I said, the bad guy in the movie is doing more of his weird mad scientist stuff, and you do get to see more creature effects, and the effects themselves are a bit of a mixed bag. Like, there's this one guy who has an elephant face sticking out of the side of his face, and it doesn't move or anything, and it looks more like a really expensive Halloween mask than anything. But there are some pretty cool effects as well. There was a really cool looking leech monster at the beginning of the film, as well as this cockroach guy that I liked. And I liked the way that the Swamp Thing himself looked in this movie. There's more detail to his costume this time around, and he also looked wet in this movie, which made sense for a plant creature living in a swamp. In the first film, he was really dry looking, and he almost looked like kind of a mummy. So, in the end, The Return of Swamp Thing isn't the best film that I've seen this month, but it's definitely not the worst. It's a pretty fun movie, and if it sounds like it might be down your alley, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about this movie. I hope you all have a good one.